Hey guys, Kriben Govender from the Gut Health Gurus podcast. I've got a background in food science, and today I have a spectacular guest for you, Dr. Dimple Jangda. Welcome to the show, Dr. Dimple.
Thank you so much, Kriben. So nice to be here.
It's my absolute pleasure. And what I like to do at the start of every podcast, and I know we're going to go really kind of, I would say, surface level, but people can go deeper into this area. But we're going to talk about Ayurveda. So it's an amazing ancient Indian system of medicine, which I know very little about. So I'm looking forward to hearing more from Dr. Dimple. But Dr. Dimple, at the start of the show, I'd like to get to know straight from the horse's mouth, who is Dr. Dimple?
Thank you so much, Kriben. So I'm the founder of Prana Healthcare Center in Mumbai. It's an Ayurvedic clinic, and we've treated about 3,100 patients from 43 countries in the last 5.5 years, for chronic diseases, right from multiple sclerosis, paralysis, to clinical depression, to constipation, common cold, and even post-chemotherapy detoxification. We specialize in that. We specialize in gut and colon health, mostly. And I have a team of doctors, therapists, biotech researchers who work day in, day out to get that information out and to bridge the gap between traditional Ayurveda and modern science, because there's a huge gap between traditional preventive healthcare sciences and curative sciences. They have to come together to save humanity. And I also have Prana Academy, which basically empowers people to become the dietitian of their own body. Instead of having to run to expensive dietitians and spend money through the nose, you become the dietitian of your own body. Because see, monkeys don't go to college to learn how to climb a tree. They are not certified tree climbers. So we don't have to be certified nutritionist or anything to learn how to eat our own food. That should be practical intelligence or intuitive intelligence that has already been instilled in our body. We just need to activate it. And we've had this intelligence since we were a baby, right? A baby doesn't crave pizza and burgers. A baby craves mother's milk, breast milk. A baby craves sweet fruits, foods like melons and mangoes, because it helps in building tissues, bananas, right? A baby doesn't crave pizzas and burgers, but that intuitive intelligence has got corrupted. So we do workshops and masterclasses, and we've had about 85,000 students from all over the world who've done our workshops. And we've had about 7,000 students who've done the masterclass from 64 countries. So the world is an oyster. The world is a global village, and preventive healthcare life sciences brought us all together. So that's who I am. And I'm really excited for my launch of the book, which is going to come out in October with Penguin. It's called Heal Your Gut, Mind, and Emotion, which is where I think we share common interests.
Amazing. What an amazing intro. And I'd like to go deeper into the book a bit later in the podcast. But I'd like to ask just a follow-up question. What got you interested in digestive health and also in Ayurveda? It's such an interesting topic.
You know what? Neither of it was a topic of interest to me growing up.
Wow.
I would be miles away from the subject of Ayurveda. Digestive health didn't exist in my mind as a concept. We just knew the word health. And growing up, I actually faced a lot of diseases. So I was born with epilepsy, and I had it up to the age of 11, and my parents couldn't help me much because, the doctors gave no answers. So my parents spent money through their nose, taking me to, hospitals and doctors, from one clinic to another, MRI scans and CT scans, and exposing me to so much radiation unknowingly. Right. So growing up, I had epilepsy up to the age of 11, and then my mother just changed my nutrition. She was able to repair my body and repair my illness. And then it suddenly became migraines, excruciating, painful migraines up to the age of 20 every single day. Like, being in pain was normal for me. Now things get more tricky. At the age of 16, I discovered a lump in my body, and I thought it was cancer. I discovered a tumor. And I didn't tell my parents, thinking I'm going to die any which ways in a few months. And because my best friend already at that point in time had fibrocystic, she had adenocarcinoma, cancer of the lungs. So I assumed even I had cancer, and I just let it go for a few months, and the tumor grew out of size, out of proportion. I couldn't breathe. So we had to rush to the hospital. We had to do needle biopsies and, mammograms and more radiation. Then we had to be rushed into a surgery, and they discovered, a tumor which was the size of my fist and 3-4 other tumors. A month later, I discovered another tumor after the surgery. So another year later, another surgery to remove the tumor. 2 surgeries down, then a deviated septum surgery, then a tonsillitis surgery. So by the age of 18, I had undergone 4 surgeries. And to make it worse, I woke up during one of those surgeries. And that was trauma that I registered in my deep subconscious mind, and it didn't leave me for years. I was so traumatized that to this day, I'm slightly claustrophobic. If someone holds my head, if I'm unable to move my head, I would get really scared. So that happened. And then I completely forgot about this whole episode. I went on to become a TV reporter, a TV producer, copywriter in an ad agency. Then I was also an investment banker in New York City. And at the peak of my career, when everything was rosy pink, life was a bed of roses. I was living in expensive hotels, globetrotting business class, and rubbing shoulders with some of the most powerful businessmen and women. And I had enough money to last me like a few years. But I just didn't feel happy. And I couldn't answer why. So I packed my bags, came back to India, took a sabbatical, indefinite sabbatical. I just kept traveling around the world. I did like 10 countries in 11 months, came back to India as a tourist and started traveling to the countryside. Rajasthan, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, and then outskirts, I was in Paris, Antwerp, Amsterdam, Zurich, Istanbul. And the one common thing I found amongst people around the world, irrespective of the language we speak, was the pursuit of happiness and health. All of us are in the pursuit of it. And I started feeling so healthy when I was in the countryside. For the first time, I slept deeply. I had chronic insomnia for 11 years. There were times when I slept only 30 minutes a day. I had chronic insomnia, the fear of falling asleep. And suddenly in the countryside, I was sleeping deeply for 8 hours. And I had a voracious appetite when I woke up. I exercised in clean air. I breathed deeply. And I could eat an entire thali, which was meant for 3 people. And growing up as a child, I had bulimia. I didn't eat. I had very, very, very poor appetite. My parents struggled. It took 2 hours for them to feed me lunch, 1 hour for breakfast, another 2 hours for dinner. So 5 hours a day was just feeding me. And I had this voracious appetite and I couldn't put my finger on it. I was like, I'm hungry, I'm sleeping well, I'm exercising well, I'm full of energy, and I'm constantly smiling for no reason. And that's when I discovered that my body was syncing with nature, the circadian rhythm. I found the word for it many years later, that this was what was happening. So I decided to bottle this happiness and sell it to the world and become a multimillionaire. And the closest I could come to bottling this happiness in a way that it's not a drug or a steroid or an antibiotic or, some kind of a pleasure drug, the closest I could come to putting that happiness in a bottle was Ayurvedic herbs, which helps people get rid of diseases and prevent diseases so they can live the most powerful present moment rather than investing in insurance, waiting to get sick, waiting to get to a hospital, to be plugged to a bed and a ventilator and machines to discover health. You don't have to wait for that event. You become healthy now. So that's how the clinic started. And I've had a wonderful team of doctors and therapists and biotech researchers who've assisted me throughout. So that's my journey.
What an amazing story. I mean, it's the classic hero's journey where you have all these battles in your life, and then at the end of it, you achieve success, but then you find this emptiness, and then finally connecting right back to nature, to the basics, to food, to helping others, and then finally finding that happiness. And I can certainly see it in your face that you're vibrant, you're healthy, you're happy. If the audience are listening to the podcast, go and check out our YouTube. You'll see a vibrancy of this beautiful woman. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I'd like to follow up with this topic of Ayurveda. So people in the West might not be familiar with what Ayurveda is. So how about we simplify it? And I'm certainly no expert, so I'll be completely relying on you, Dr. Dimple. What is Ayurveda?
I'm so glad you asked me that. So for the longest time, like I said, I was running away from Ayurveda because I thought it's a slow science and, it takes too much time. I don't have the patience for it. And I remember I had to appear for an interview for a TV reporter's job. And I told my friend, I said, listen, I need to look good for this. She said, why don't you go for some Ayurvedic facials and massages for a few days? I said, I don't have 6 months. I have 6 days. Give me something that happens in 6 days. I'm running to the salon, to the parlor to get some facials with a lot of chemicals and stuff like that. Obviously, that's not the word I used at the point in time. I said some expensive facials to get my, radiance back. And I suffered with poor skin my entire teenage life. Very bad skin. I had pimples and acne and bumps on my face. And, growing up, I even developed urticaria, which is a chronic skin disease, an inflammatory disease. And this happened just a few years ago. So Ayurveda is something that helped me prevent my 5th surgery. And it's a science. It's called a preventive healthcare life science, rather than just a curative healthcare science. It's a 5,000-year-old science that developed in the lands of India, mainly in Kerala. And that's where they preserved it. And luckily, during the colonial rule, the British didn't think it was profitable to invade Kerala because of the Western Ghats, the hills that surrounded it. It was too expensive to invade it. So Kerala was able to preserve this knowledge, but a lot of the Vedic scriptures has been destroyed during the colonial rule. 80% of it has been destroyed. We barely have 20% of it left. Ayurveda, the word itself means Ayu plus Veda. Ayu means life. Veda means knowledge. So Ayurveda is the knowledge of life, or the science of life, that teaches you how to personalize your diet, your lifestyle, your food habits, based on your unique body type, your genetics, the topographic conditions you live in, the seasonal and the climatic changes, and the age of your body. So it's a personalized science. No two bodies in the world are the same. There are 7 unique body types that Mother Nature created: endomorph, ectomorph, mesomorph, then dual body types: endo-ecto, ecto-meso, or endo-meso. And then you have the tridoshic body type, and you have dominant in all 3, right? So there are 7 unique body types, and Ayurveda states, and modern science understands, one man's nutrition is another man's poison. For example, chilies, or hot, spicy, pungent foods like capsicum, onion, garlic, radish, chilies, is excellent for an endomorph body type because it stimulates a metabolic fire and aids in weight loss. But it's forbidden for a mesomorph body type that already has a high metabolic fire, because it can aggravate it and lead to skin disorders. Because of high metabolic fire, you might end up having psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, urticaria, because your body is heated up from inside and it is burning up the skin. So one man's nutrition is another man's poison. So that's the basic of Ayurveda, that it's a personalized science. It goes deeper. It has about 10,000 herbs that it has identified. In fact, more, but we have about 10,000 herbs available to mankind right now. And it says that for every disease, there's a herb that is a cure. Our job is just to find it. Now the whole world is going to go on turmeric lattes. They're paying about $50, God knows how many euros for a turmeric latte. But we grew up on turmeric milk, and that was a basic lifestyle. If someone had a cold or a cough or a fever, they were given turmeric milk at bedtime. And by the time they woke up in the morning, the fever was gone. But that was basics that our ancestors and grandmothers practiced at home. It goes deeper. We understand the science of spices: cinnamon, cardamom, clove, grated ginger, pepper, star anise. We understand the science of herbs: ashwagandha, shatavari, gugul, and a whole lot of it, right? So there are about 10,000 herbs. There are about 650 medical formulations out of it that has been made for different diseases, right from cancer to common cold. And there are about 1,700 formulations for the colon cleanse, because Ayurveda stresses on digestive health. The first step is thinning of the body. Your body must be thin. You cannot have excess fat, mucus, water retention, bloating, gases accumulated in the body. You can't have inflammation in the body. Ayurveda stresses on removing all of that first. It stresses on cleaning up the gut and the colon. There should be no undigested foods or waste or heavy metals, toxins, preservatives lurking in your body for more than 24 hours. What you eat must either be expended in the form of energy, and the remaining should be eliminated within 24 hours. The insoluble fiber, if they end up staying in the gut and colon, they start destroying the body. So that's where modern science and Ayurveda comes together. Both agree that 90% of the diseases are caused due to an unhealthy colon. And that's where we specialize. And that's honestly a very small part of Ayurveda. Ayurveda understands pediatric health as a separate branch: ENT, ears, nose, and throat; fertility for men and women; gerontology, which is basically for senior citizens. Then it also understands general medicines, herbs. It understands toxicology as a separate subject. Toxicology is a separate branch for the last 5,000 years, and there's psychosomatic wellness as well in it. And then there is surgery. Surgery was invented by Ayurveda 5,000 years ago. Sushruta, the world's first surgeon, conducted complex surgeries like rhinoplasty, or even helping in grafting skin for soldiers who came back from the war. If they were missing a ear, he would graft skin from the cheek to build a ear for them.
Mm.
So surgery was conducted. Cataract surgery was done about 3,000 years ago. It was discovered by Ayurvedic physicians, recorded and passed on orally to their disciples. So knowledge was passed on orally, most of it. Some of it was recorded in Vedic scriptures, which unfortunately has been destroyed, but we've been able to hold on to at least 20%. We hope that this is the rise and the era of preventive healthcare, rather than just looking for the cure.
Wow. I love that intro to Ayurveda. The question that sort of came into my mind straight away is how do you classify these different body types? Because someone might be listening to this and it's like, oh, what type am I? I'm fascinated. What type am I? Like, so how do we classify different types?
So, there's a basic dosha quiz that we have on our website. If you guys would like to find out what your body type is, I'll share the link with Kriben. It's www.pranabydimple.com. You can just go and do the dosha quiz and answer a series of questions, about 15 to 25 questions, that allows you to find out what your body type is. Can I take a break for a second?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So sorry. Someone's at the door.
No problems. Yeah.
Apologies for that.
All good.
It's a single that you have to attend to the door and laundry. So I'll start with the answer again, if that helps.
Sure.
So for those of you who would like to find out your body type, there's a basic quiz that we have on our website called www.pranabydimple.com. You can just go ahead and do the dosha quiz. So dosha basically means building blocks or the body type in Ayurveda. You can answer a series of questions, about 15 to 25 questions. It talks about what type of skin you have, what type of hair, what type of nails, what type of eyes, what type of dreams you have, what kind of an appetite you have, how are your bowel movements, how's your personality, are you hot-tempered or cool? So there's a series of questions that you can do personally. So it's a personal analysis, right? But this is what I say to everyone, that Ayurvedic body type, or your, modern terms of endomorph, ectomorph, mesomorph, is a fixed body type that is fixed at the time of being conceived in the womb. So your body type is fixed at the time of being conceived and doesn't change an entire lifetime. So it's good to go to an Ayurvedic doctor at least once in a lifetime. They do a pulse check. They check your pulse, or they ask a lot of questions on a Zoom consult, and they help you identify your body type. It's like finding your blood group. You must take a little bit of a professional help if you can. But if you can't afford it at the moment because of distance or logistics or, money and stuff like that, doesn't matter. At least do a self-analysis. So I'll give you a basic understanding. Endomorph, the first body type, is the thickest body type. They have thick, broad bone structure. And they have good skin, good hair naturally. They have dark, thick hair. So you can be blonde, but you can still have thick and deep colored hair, right? And they have good skin, good hair, but they tend to put on weight very quickly and they struggle to lose weight. They could work out for days together in the gym and they'd probably, shift 500 grams on the weighing scale, half a pound maybe, right? So that's the thickest body type. And they have a tendency towards catching a cold, cough, sinus, allergies, asthma, hay fever, lung congestion, bronchial disorders. They tend to have a lot of symptoms in the top part of the body, the lung region, between the nose and the lungs. And they also have an inclination towards heavy disorders because they're an earth and water dominant body type. So they would have an inclination towards obesity, cholesterol, diabetes, excessive weight gain, tumors, fibroids, cysts. That's a dominance of earth and water in the body. The second body type is mesomorph. They're a fire dominant body type. So out of the 5 elements, earth and water was endomorph. Mesomorph is a fire and a water dominant body type. They tend to put on weight easily and lose weight easily. Have you ever had a friend who'd put on 5 kgs and lose 5 kgs in a month? They fluctuate all the time. They gained weight this month, lost weight next month. Mm-hmm. These people have a high metabolic fire. and they're fire dominant. But because the fire is more dominant in the body, they display symptoms connected to the fire, like excessive sweating, discoloration of the eyes, like yellowness and redness if they're exposed to the screen, hair fall because of excessive heat, thinning of the hair, graying of the hair, skin disorders quite easily, like pimples, acne, rosacea, eczema, psoriasis, urticaria, burning sensation in the stomach, acidity, reflux, a sensitive gallbladder and liver because the fire is dominant in the middle part of the body. And then you have the third body type, which is the ectomorph, the thinnest body type. So mesomorph is athletic, medium build. Ectomorph is the thinnest body type. They have thin bones, brittle bones, dried up skin, dried up frizzy hair, dry colon, inclination towards colon-related disorders like constipation, diarrhea, IBS, inclination towards bone-related disorders like osteoporosis, arthritis, rheumatism, spondylosis, body aches, pain, excessive thinking, and they tend to be, someone who's hyperactive, or they palpitate very quickly, hyperventilate, but they're also very creative. They are air and space dominant. So based on the elements, your personality has changed. The endomorph, which is earth and water dominant body type, is usually very compassionate, kind, empathetic. And they're solid figures in your family. They're the ones you want to go give a hug because they're chubby and big. Your grandmothers are chubby and big. You want to give them a hug, because for us, big and chubby exudes kindness psychologically. I think they're the kindest, right? Mesomorph, which is an athletic body type, is usually the most competitive one. Ambitious, public speakers, leaders, CEOs, CFOs, go-getters, fire dominant. Air and space, ectomorph dominant body types, are the creative types. They just flow. They're dancers, they're musicians, they're writers, they're also runners, and they just flow. They're also great speakers, by the way, as orators. So your personality is also determined based on your body type. And that's how beautiful the unique body type science is. Once you found your unique body type, you can change your diet based on your body type and you'll never get sick.
Wow. And you mentioned there's some combination types that are in between the main types.
That is always the trickiest part, let me tell you. So when you're a single body type, it's very easy. There are very strict demarcations on what foods are favorable for you and what foods are not favorable for you. There's a very clear demarcation. An endomorph does well with bitter, astringent, pungent foods and must stay away from sweet, sour, salty foods. Very clear demarcation. Mesomorph does well with sweet, bitter, and astringent foods, must stay away from pungent, spicy foods, sour, and salty foods. And ectomorph does well by eating the exact opposite of the endomorph. They do well by eating sweet, sour, salty foods and must stay away from bitter, astringent, pungent foods. But if you're a dual body type, sometimes you're living in a contradiction. So say if you're a combination of an endomorph and an ectomorph, they're two extremes. Endomorph is the thickest body type, good skin, good hair. Ectomorph is the thinnest body type with thin, brittle bones, dried off skin, dried off frizzy hair. So you might end up borrowing some qualities from here and some qualities from here. And you'll be like, why am I a bit of everything? Right? So endo, ecto, then it becomes a little challenging to balance because they eat the exact opposite foods. So in that case, what I say to everybody, incorporate all 6 days in every meal of yours. Now, when you have coffee, you're having just bitter coffee, which is not healthy. Okay, you add some good fat like almond milk or coconut milk or cow's milk sourced from a cruelty-free cow farm only that's free of hormones. That good fat is sweet. Then you can add some ghee, a drop of ghee. It makes it bulletproof, that coffee. Cleans your GI tract. So you must make sure that every meal, then you can even add some pungent spices like cinnamon, cardamom, clove, ginger, pepper, star anise to your coffee and to your teas. Every meal of yours must incorporate all the 6 days. So when you're having fruits, it's sweet, right? I like to add a pinch of pepper on top. It prevents mucus, cold, cough when you eat a fruit or have a fruit juice, which some people have a tendency towards. So you incorporate all 6 days. So you could be a dual body type that's an ecto-meso, again, complicated. It's called Vata Pitta in Ayurveda. You could be a combination of a meso and an endo, which is a fire, earth, water dominant, which is called Kapha and Pitta in Ayurveda. Dual body types, it's a little tricky to design a diet plan, but it's not impossible. And then the 7th body type is a tridoshic body type, where all 3 building blocks are dominant in your body. Earth, water, fire, air, space, all 5 elements are strong in your body. No 2 elements are more dominant than the other. And the aim in Ayurveda is, no matter what body type you're born in, you must aim to become tridoshic in nature. You must aim to come to a state of complete balance in all your 5 elements. And you must aim to eat based on how your body is responding on an hourly basis. So diet cannot be designed for this reason. Nobody else can design a diet for you for this reason, because somebody else is designing a diet based on the knowledge of your symptoms. But you have to eat based on how you're feeling on an hourly basis. So in the morning, if I'm feeling cold and sluggish, I'll start my day with a warm porridge. Afternoon, if I'm feeling hot, I'll have a lemonade, which is cooling. I'll have buttermilk. I'll have the biggest meal of the day because the metabolic fire is at the peak. Evening, when the sun starts setting, I'll have a smaller meal because the digestive fires also become small. So your diet changes on a daily basis based on what you're feeling in the morning, on an hourly basis based on the temperature outside. And that's why we say every household must be empowered with the science of Ayurveda or any preventive healthcare life science that you've grown an affinity towards, so you can become the dietitian of your own body, the nutritionist for your loved ones, and you're cooking your meals on a daily basis to boost their health and prevent diseases, not just to feed the bellies and the tongue. You're feeding your body nutrition that is nourishing, that is wholesome, that is helping you build new tissues, muscles, teeth, nails, and hair, that is helping you repair and rejuvenate the body on a daily basis, rather than waking up shocked one day saying, hey, why did I eat so fast? That's Ayurveda.
That's amazing. That's an amazing summary of all the different body types. And I think the audience are going to really dig into this, do the tests, find out what body types they are, and really get into the Ayurvedic work. A couple of questions. One is quite esoteric, so let me frame it as esoteric. But I'm starting to develop an interest in the Vedic calendars and the astrology. So are you able to explain, if you do have this knowledge, on what, because you mentioned at the time of birth, a lot of these Vedic styles will look at, I think it's the moon signs at the time of birth, from my understanding, and then sort of give the person a little bit of information on what their body and their personalities and things might be like. So are you able to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I'll touch on it briefly, but I'm no expert on the subject of astrology, which is a very interesting subject, by the way. Astrology is a science of understanding the position of planets and the impact they have on the human body. Right? Now, astrology, astronomy, Ayurveda are all interconnected. Astrology and astronomy are the closely connected sciences. Astronomy is obviously, a modern approach to it, and astrology is a traditional Vedic approach to the same science. Ayurveda borrows from both. Now, Ayurvedic doctors, medical doctors, so I'm an Ayurvedic researcher. Ayurvedic doctors, some of them will actually ask you for your birth date, which city you were born in, before prescribing herbs to you. Because if you were born in the winter season, there are certain herbs that grew in the winter season. Nature is so clever. It grows the herbs that you need in every season. Now, say if you went to a tropical city, nature grows abundance of coconut trees and gives you tender coconut water so you don't dehydrate from that ocean heat. Okay? If you go up in the mountains, you'll find a lot of bitter herbs and pungent spicy herbs that helps you keep the body warm. If you go to the deserts, you'll find abundance of dates that keeps you hydrated and nourished from within. So nature cleverly grows the specific herb, fruit, and vegetable that you need to acclimatize to that region, the topographic region and climate. So astrologic Ayurvedic doctors will ask you for your date of birth and the city you were born in before prescribing some herbs to you. Some of them do it, not all of them do it. Now, astrology also understands the impact of planets on your body. Now, on a full moon night, you'll notice that you're emotionally more unstable or emotionally more aware and conscious. Reason being, the impact of the moon on Earth's body is so huge that the waves in the ocean rise up to almost 10 to 11 feet high. We are nothing but a collection of water particles. Our body is 75% water, our brain is 85% water, our bones are 36% water, our nervous system is 95% water, our eyes are 95% water. We're literally floating in water. Our eyelids, our eyeballs are floating in water. So our body is essentially a water body. And when it's a full moon, the impact of the moon is felt on our body. The water particles in our body start surfacing, ebbing and flowing. There's a surge of ebbs and flows in the body, which causes the emotions and memories from your subconscious mind to surface like a wave into the conscious mind, and you suddenly become aware. Suddenly you have flashbacks of your childhood. Suddenly you have childhood memories cropping up. And that's why on a full moon night in New York City, at the hospital, the doctors are mentally prepared for the maximum number of emergencies, because some of the expert drivers suddenly have the surge of emotions and they have an accident. An expert carpenter would end up nailing his finger because he lost his attention for a second. There's a surge of emotions. So just like how the moon impacts the human body, every single planet in this particular galaxy exudes impact on our body, which we are physically aware of. Beyond that, every single star in this universe exudes impact on the physical body. We're literally a tiny speck of dirt on this planet Earth when you see us from space. When you look at Earth from space, you can literally see just a beautiful blue dot. Blue again, because it's water dominant. You don't see a brown dot. You don't see a green dot. You see a blue dot. And human beings are a tiny speck of dirt. So if the moon and the planets can impact Earth, if the sun's rays can impact Earth, why will it not impact the human body? Now, Ayurveda goes a little deeper. It says diseases are triggered due to karmic collection from this birth and the previous births, triggered by the position of the planets. So very simple thing. I've experienced this in my life. A very simple thing. Okay. So say if I keep, eating ice creams at night after sunset, why is it unconscious? I'm consciously eating an ice cream, but it's called an unconscious activity because I'm unconscious of the impact it will have on my body 6 months from now. So I keep eating an ice cream. That's my karma. Karma means action. So I'm acting on that ice cream every night at 7 o'clock for 6 months. 7th, 8th month, I'll probably wake up with inflamed sinusitis, so chronic that I might have to go for a surgery because I can't breathe. So the disease was triggered due to a series of repeated unconscious actions, which is called karma. Karma, somehow has been misinterpreted by a lot of people saying that it's beyond our control. Karma controls us. Karma doesn't control us. Karmas are action. And now this can get triggered by the position of the planets. For example, it's winter season. Jupiter, Mars, Pluto, all of them might be having a different impact on Earth in winter versus in summer. And that's when that particular disease gets triggered in the body because of the impact of the moon, the impact of the sun, the impact of Jupiter and all the planets. And that karmic collection of the body suddenly now surfaces up in the form of a disease. That's my understanding of astrological impact on health and disease. Of course, it goes deeper. This is just a surface level explanation.
That's amazing. I love that summary. I think there's so much we don't understand about this life, this realm, the impact of planets, the sun, the moon. And I think to just put it in that basket of, woo-woo is a little bit unfair. And that's why I keep my mind very open, even being a scientist, to be open that I don't understand everything and just having that burning want to learn more about these esoteric topics. So thank you so much for sharing that. Just one more question before we wrap this, and then I jump off and jump back on because Zoom's going to kick us out in a second, but I'll send the link. So how about the seasons? Just in a very quick summary, how do the seasons relate to Ayurveda?
So every season, our diet has to change. That's what Ayurveda says. You must eat based on your season. Eat local, eat seasonal, live global. Eat local, because when you have the local fruits and vegetables, you're ingesting the local bacteria, which allows you to acclimatize to that particular topographic region and you don't get sick. So if you're allergic to a specific pollen grain, you must eat the honey collected from that pollen grain by the bees so that you can acclimatize to that pollen grain. You introduce it into your body, so your body accepts it as food and realizes this is not an allergy. Seasonal foods. Now, during the summer season, we have watermelon. It hydrates us, right? During winter season, we'll have a different fruit. During autumn, we'll have pumpkins, because pumpkins is rich in moisture. It helps us counteract the dryness from the autumn season and prevents our skin from becoming dry like a leaf. So every food seasonally allows you to do about. I think you want to come back in. We got less than a minute.
Yeah, I think we'll pause there and we'll come back in. I'll send another link to the email address.
Okay, should I join the same link? I think even the same link should work.
I'm not sure. Normally I just send the link just to be sure.
All right, I'll join back in.
I'll see you in a sec.